The night federal agents showed up at my door at 6:12 a.m., my son's wife was still inside planning how to access my family's trust. The same woman who had spent months calling me paranoid, unstable, even trying to convince my own son that I was losing control. But what she didn't know was that I'd already traced the money, documented the transfers, and handed everything to federal investigators before she ever stepped into my house with her financial advisor. And by the time they started asking questions, her entire plan had already collapsed. Because this was never just family drama, it was fraud, and it ended exactly where it was always going to, with charges filed, a courtroom waiting, and her walking out of my life with nothing. I'm Margaret Hale, and this is how I turned silence into legal revenge. Chapter 1. I realized my daughter-in-law was calculating my money 5 days after her wedding. That was the moment everything shifted, even though I did not say a word. My name is Eleanor Whitford. I was 65 when my husband Charles died in early 2024. He had built our company from nothing back in 1997, a regional building supply business that quietly expanded across Ohio and western Pennsylvania. We sold it in 2020 for just over $46 million, and most people never knew. We never lived like that kind of money existed. Same house, same quiet street, same grocery store, same neighbors who still waved like nothing had changed. Charles believed that money should protect you, not expose you. After he passed, I made sure everything stayed protected. Every major asset was moved into a trust, structured, layered, and sealed. No open access, no shared visibility, no easy path for anyone to reach what did not belong to them. Not even my son knew the full structure. Lucas Whitford was 37, a college lecturer in economics. He understood theory, risk, incentives, but people were different. He still believed love made people honest. He met Alyssa Grant at a networking event downtown. 6 months later, they were married. She was the kind of woman people describe as effortless. Soft voice, steady eye contact, always listening just long enough before she spoke. She knew how to make people feel comfortable, and more importantly, she knew how to make them talk. The first dinner after their wedding was simple: roasted chicken, green beans, lemon pie. The same meal Lucas had loved since he was a child. We sat at the table, the three of us, and for a while, everything felt normal. Lucas talked about his students, about budget cuts and department politics. Alyssa listened, smiling at the right moments, asking just enough questions to keep him going. Then she turned to me and asked how I planned to handle retirement now that I was on my own, especially with healthcare costs rising. It sounded responsible. Lucas answered for me. He laughed and said his mother had always been careful, that I would be fine no matter what happened. I smiled, but I did not answer her. She tried again. This time she mentioned that many families underestimate long-term care costs, especially when assets are not structured correctly, and that mistakes at that stage can be irreversible. She said it casually. Then she paused, and she watched my face. That was when I understood. She was not trying to understand me. She was trying to price me. I set my fork down and asked about her work. She pivoted smoothly, talking about financial consulting, about helping families preserve wealth, about ensuring that assets were positioned correctly across generations. Protect, position, access. She chose every word carefully. Lucas kept talking, unaware. He trusted her completely. I watched her. Every time I avoided a direct answer, she adjusted. Every time I shifted the topic, she found a new path back. She was not guessing, she was mapping. Then she said something that did not belong in casual conversation. She mentioned that companies like ours, especially ones sold before the pandemic market surge, often landed somewhere between $40 and $60 million, depending on timing and structure. She said it like a general observation, but it was too close. Lucas nodded without thinking. I did not move. She was not estimating. She was confirming. I felt it then, something cold and precise settling into place. She already had information, and she was testing how much more she could extract. A few minutes later, she asked if we had worked with a private advisory group during the sale, mentioning a firm that had actually approached us years ago. That was not public information. Lucas looked surprised, then impressed. He said that name sounded familiar. I kept my expression steady, but inside, something tightened. She had done her homework. Dinner ended quietly, but the tension did not. In the kitchen, she followed me without asking and started helping with the dishes, plates, water, small movements that looked natural if you weren't paying attention. I was paying attention. After a few minutes, she said it must be a relief to have everything settled financially after selling the business. She said it gently, like she was offering comfort. But it was not comfort. It was positioning. I turned off the water and looked at her. I asked what she meant. She smiled, calm and controlled, and said she was just interested in how families structured their future, how they protected what they had built, how they managed access across generations. Protect, access, now manage. She chose every word carefully, time and time again. I told her Charles had handled those decisions before he passed, and that I trusted what he had put in place. That was true, but it was only part of the truth. What I didn't say was that I had already tightened everything after he was gone. No shared control, no weak points, no simple path for anyone to move assets without my consent. She nodded, but her eyes did not soften. She was recalculating. And for the first time, I felt something else beneath my control. Guilt. I had kept Lucas out of it all because I wanted him to live freely, without suspicion or pressure. I thought protecting him meant keeping him uninvolved. Now, I wasn't sure. If he didn't understand what existed, how could he see someone coming for it? When Lucas walked in, she stepped back instantly. Her posture changed, her tone warmed, her entire presence softened into something safe and familiar. But if I hadn't been watching closely, I would have believed it. But I was watching now. They left not long after. I stood by the window as their car pulled away, the headlights fading into the quiet street. The house felt different once they were gone. Not empty, exposed. I went to my study and opened the file I hadn't touched in months. The trust documents were exactly where I left them, layered, secured, designed to protect everything Charles and I had built. Everything designed to prevent anyone from taking what did not belong to them. Lucas never asked about any of it. He trusted me, and I had believed that keeping him in the dark would keep him safe. But as I sat there, thinking about Alyssa, about the way she had asked her questions, about the way she had known things she should not know, about the way she had tested every boundary without crossing it, I felt something shift. This was not curiosity. This was not concern. This was a strategy, and Lucas was already inside it. I closed the file slowly, my hand resting on the cover longer than it needed to. For the first time since Charles died, I understood something clearly. The danger was not coming for me. It was already sitting at my table. Chapter 2. I did not sleep that night. Every detail replayed with unnatural clarity. Her tone, her pauses, the precision of her numbers, the way she watched instead of listened. By morning, I understood something I had been resisting. This was not curiosity moving through my home. This was intent. Alyssa was not adjusting. She was advancing. The change in Lucas came quietly at first. He mentioned space, then comfort, then what he called alignment with where they were headed. He said their current house no longer reflected their future. He said it once, then again, then again. We sat at my kitchen table with coffee between us when he finally said it directly. He wanted to move, something larger, newer, closer to the city. I asked him when that had started to matter. He smiled, almost apologetic, and said it was something he and Alyssa had been discussing for a while. I asked him if it mattered to him before she mentioned it. He paused just long enough for the truth to show. Then he said, "Things change." I nodded, but inside I marked it clearly. This was not change. This was influence. I told him there was value in stability, in not expanding just because you could. He leaned back and looked at me with something new in his expression. Not defiance, not anger, distance. He said there was no reason to limit themselves if resources were available. Resources. I asked him what he believed those resources were. He hesitated, then said they would build together, that marriage meant combining everything, planning everything as one. Combining everything. I did not push further. Pushing would only confirm the version of me he was already being guided toward. 2 days later, I came home early. The house was too quiet. There was a faint movement upstairs, subtle but wrong. I walked slowly, each step measured. My study door was not fully closed. I opened it just enough to see her. Alyssa stood at my desk, a folder open in her hands. Not just any folder. The outer layer of my financial archive, the one that referenced the trust structure without revealing everything. She turned quickly when she saw me. For half a second, she did not have an expression. Then it returned. Soft, controlled, perfect. She said she was looking for the bathroom. I looked at the folder still in her hand. Then I looked at her. I told her the bathroom was down the hall to the left. She closed the folder carefully, too carefully, aligning the edges before placing it back exactly where she had found it. That was the moment the uncertainty ended. She was not searching blindly. She knew where to look. That evening, I stayed in the living room when she stepped outside to take a call. The door did not fully close. Her voice changed. No softness, no warmth. She said the structure was tighter than expected, that most of it was locked behind layered control, but there were still entry points if they moved early. She paused. Then she said my name. Then she said the word trust. Not guessing, knowing. She said they needed to act before it became impossible to influence. Ryan responded, though I could not hear the words, only the rhythm of agreement. She was not asking for advice. She was reporting progress. When she came back inside, the softness returned instantly. Lucas followed her, smiling, unaware that he had just walked into a room that no longer belonged to him the way it used to. I watched them sit together, close, aligned, and I understood something that settled deeper than anger. I was no longer the center of trust in my own family. The next morning, I asked Lucas to sit with me. I told him I had concerns. I said Alyssa was asking questions that suggested she was focused on more than just building a life with him. He reacted immediately. He said I was being unfair, that I did not understand her intentions, that she was trying to create stability for both of them. I kept my voice even. I said stability does not begin with access. He frowned, then shook his head. He said I had always controlled everything, that maybe I was uncomfortable with someone else having influence. The words landed harder than he realized. I asked him if he believed I would ever act against him. He did not answer directly. He said people hold on to power in different ways. That was the moment something shifted permanently. Not fear, separation. That afternoon, I drove to see Laura Bennett. She listened carefully as I explained everything, the questions, the intrusion, the call, the specific language Alyssa had used. Laura did not interrupt. When I finished, she asked one question. She asked if I believed Alyssa had seen any documents. I said yes. Laura nodded once. She said that changed everything. She explained that partial knowledge of a trust could be enough to build pressure, marital claims, indirect influence, strategic positioning. She said if Alyssa understood even a fraction of the structure, she could attempt to force access through Lucas. I asked what needed to be done. Laura said we needed to move immediately, tighten every layer, restrict visibility further, and prepare legal defenses in case financial consolidation was pushed. She added something else. She said combined finances were introduced too early in a new marriage, especially with uneven asset awareness. It was rarely about partnership. It was about leverage. We updated everything. Every pathway that could be interpreted as flexible was closed. Every assumption of safety was removed. By the time I left, the system was stronger, but the threat was clearer. That night, Lucas came over again. Alyssa sat beside him, composed, patient, watching. Then she spoke. She said it might be time to think about long-term planning together as a family, shared visibility, shared strategy, shared control. She said it like it was reasonable. Lucas agreed immediately. I looked at both of them, then back at her, and I understood the timing. This was not a suggestion. This was a move based on what she had already seen. She was no longer trying to learn. She was positioning to take the next step. And this time, she was not asking for information. She was preparing to claim it. Chapter 3. I stopped reacting and started setting the board. Silence gave me clarity, and clarity gave me control. Every move I made now had to matter. There would be no second chances once this unfolded. I called Olivia Park again and asked her to go deeper. I need everything, I said. Not just patterns, I need consequences. She was quiet for a moment. That will take time, she said. I have time, I replied. What I did not say was that I did not have much of it. 2 days later, she called me back. This is no longer just a pattern, she said. I sat down before she continued. There are at least 2 prior relationships where financial integration happened quickly, she said. And in both cases, the men experienced significant losses shortly after. My hand tightened around the phone. Losses how? I asked. Joint accounts drained, investment decisions influenced, then sudden separation, Olivia said. No direct charges, but both cases involved civil disputes that were quietly settled. I closed my eyes for a moment. And Ryan? I asked. Connected, she said. Not publicly, but his name appears in proximity to both cases. That was enough. This was not instinct. This was structure. While Olivia worked, Lucas and Alyssa left for Bali. From the outside, it looked like a delayed honeymoon finally happening. From where I stood, it looked like repositioning. On the 3rd day, Lucas called me. His voice sounded lighter. "Mom, it is beautiful here," he said. "I think you would like it." I smiled, even though he could not see it. "I am glad you are enjoying it," I said. He hesitated. "She might come back early," he added. "Work," I said. "Yes," he replied. There was something in his voice. Not doubt, not yet, but a shift. The next call came the following evening. His tone had changed completely. "I need to ask you something," he said. I did not interrupt. "I saw her phone," he continued. "I know I should not have, but it was right there." "What did you see?" I asked. He took a breath. "Notes," he said. "Detailed notes." He paused. "There were numbers, ranges, projected values," he continued. "And there was a timeline." My chest tightened. "What kind of timeline?" I asked. "Phases," he said quietly. Phase 1, alignment. Phase 2, access. Phase 3, consolidation. The words settled between us like something solid. "And the numbers?" I asked. "They were close," he said. "Too close." I did not ask what he meant. I already knew. "There was more," he added. "My name was there." He stopped again. "So was yours." I let the silence hold. "What did she say?" I asked. He replied quickly, that it was planning, that she was just organizing our future. "And you believed her?" I said. He did not answer. "I wanted to," he said finally. That was the fracture. The next morning he called again. "I changed my flight," he said. "I'm coming back early." "Does she know?" I asked. "No," he said. "I told her I might stay longer." For the first time, he was moving without her awareness. That meant the doubt had taken root. When he returned, he did not come home immediately. He went to a hotel near the airport instead. He called me from there. "I need to see you," he said. We met that night. He looked different, not tired, not angry, disoriented. "I do not understand this," he said. "None of it makes sense." I listened. He continued. "I thought I knew her. I thought everything we were building was real." He looked at me, searching for something. "I don't even recognize what I saw," he said. That was the moment the truth became unavoidable for him. Not because I told him, because he saw it himself. The next day, Alyssa returned. She walked into the house with the same calm presence, the same controlled smile. "Where is Lucas?" she asked. "He came back early," I said. Her expression flickered for a half second, then it settled. "I didn't know," she said. "Plans change," I replied. That evening, Lucas came home. They sat together in the living room. I stayed in the hallway, close enough to hear. "I need you to explain something," Lucas said. "What is wrong?" she asked softly. "The notes," he said. "They weren't normal." "They were planning," she replied. "They had phases," he said. "That's how I organize things," she said. "And the numbers," he pressed. "They were estimates." "Of what?" he asked. "Our future," she answered. There was a long pause. "You wrote Phase 2 access," he said. Another pause. "You're reading too much into it," she replied. Her voice remained calm, but something underneath it had changed. Pressure. Lucas exhaled slowly. "I feel like I'm missing something," he said. "You're overthinking. You are trying to protect what we're building." The words sounded right. That was what made them dangerous. Lucas did not respond immediately. When he did, his voice was quieter. "I need time," he said. That night, the house felt like it was holding its breath. Everything was in place. The trust was sealed, the pathways closed, the structure reinforced. For the first time, I was not reacting. I was waiting. Because now there were 3 different realities moving at once. I knew the truth. Lucas was beginning to see it, and Alyssa still believed she was in control. That was the most dangerous moment of all, because when someone believes they are winning, they stop being careful. And something in me knew with absolute certainty that she had already set the next move in motion. Chapter 4. I saw the move coming before she even knocked on the door. By the time she stepped inside, I was already ready. She did not come alone. "This is Daniel Reeves," she said smoothly. "He is advising us on financial strategy." The name was different this time, but the role was the same. He carried himself with quiet authority, the kind that did not need volume to apply pressure. "Thank you for making time," he said. "I believe there are ways to bring everything into a more efficient structure." Efficient. That word again. We sat in the living room. She chose her position carefully, angled toward him, not me. Aligned. Prepared. Daniel opened a leather folder and began speaking in calm, precise language. He talked about consolidation, about visibility, about reducing fragmentation in family wealth. He spoke as if the outcome had already been agreed upon. "In situations like this," he said, "it is often beneficial to centralize oversight so decisions can be made cohesively." Cohesively. Alyssa leaned forward. "It would help Lucas," she said. "He should not be excluded from what affects his future." I said nothing. Silence made them work harder. Daniel continued. "There are also legal advantages when financial structures reflect marital alignment," he said. "Over time, separation between assets can create complications." Complications. Alyssa exhaled softly, then spoke again, her tone tightening just enough. "I am not asking for control," she said. "I am asking for trust." I looked at her steadily. "You are asking for access," I replied. For a moment, she did not answer. Then her expression shifted. "I am part of this family," she said. "I will not be treated like an outsider." Daniel glanced at her, then back at me, recalibrating. "This is not about conflict," he said. "It is about planning ahead." But the pressure was no longer subtle. It was present. And then the front door opened. Footsteps. Lucas. He had come back earlier than either of them expected. He stopped just outside the room, unseen, silent. I felt it before I saw him. Alyssa continued speaking, unaware. "We need to move forward," she said. "There is no reason to delay something that benefits everyone." Daniel nodded. "Timing matters," he added. "Early alignment prevents unnecessary limitations later." Lucas stepped into the room. "What exactly are we aligning?" he asked. Alyssa turned, surprise flashing across her face before she smoothed it away. "I thought you were staying longer," she said softly. "I changed my plans," he replied. His voice was calm, but there was something underneath it now. Clarity. He looked at Daniel. "And you are advising what, exactly?" he asked. Daniel introduced himself, repeating the same careful language. Lucas listened, then turned back to Alyssa. "Why is he here?" he asked. "To help us plan," she said. "Plan what?" he pressed. "Our future." Lucas held her gaze. "Then explain the timeline," he said. The room went still. Alyssa blinked once. "What timeline?" she asked. "The one on your phone," he said. "Phase 1 alignment, Phase 2 access, Phase 3 consolidation." Daniel shifted in his seat, no longer relaxed. Alyssa inhaled slowly. "You are misunderstanding that," she said. "Then explain it," Lucas replied. Her voice stayed steady, but the control was thinner now. "It is just a framework," she said, "for organizing our future." Lucas stepped closer. "Then why does it start before our wedding?" he asked. Silence. Real silence this time. I watched her carefully. That was the fracture point. "There were notes," Lucas continued, "dates that do not match anything we lived through." Alyssa did not answer. Lucas held out his hand. "Give me your phone," he said. Daniel shifted again. "Perhaps this is not the right approach," he said. Lucas did not look at him. "This does not involve you," he said. Then he looked back at Alyssa. "Now." For a moment, she did not move. Then she handed it over. Lucas scrolled slowly. His face changed piece by piece. Messages. Names. Ryan. Daniel. Another name. Clara. Then one line stopped him. A message dated months before the wedding. He read it out loud. "Once we secure marriage status, Phase 2 becomes easier." The words hung in the room. Daniel leaned back, no longer speaking. Alyssa said nothing. Lucas looked up at her. His voice was quieter now. "You planned this before you married me," he said. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. "It's not what you think," she said finally. Lucas shook his head slowly. "I don't even know what to think," he said. He turned to me. "I need you to tell me everything," he said. So I did. I told him about the trust, about the structure, about why I had protected it, about what I had seen, what I had heard, what had already been confirmed. I told him without anger, without accusation, just the truth. When I finished, he stood very still. Then he looked back at Alyssa. "I built my life around you," he said, "and you built a plan around me." The words landed harder than anything else that had been said. Alyssa's composure finally broke. "I was trying to protect us," she said. "No," he replied. "You were trying to control something that was never yours." Daniel stood up slowly, realizing the room had shifted beyond recovery. "This conversation is no longer productive," he said. Lucas looked at him for the first time. "You knew," he said. Daniel did not answer. That was answer enough. Lucas handed the phone back. Then he stepped away. "I will be speaking to a lawyer," he said. His voice did not shake. It did not rise. It ended things completely. Alyssa stood there, silent, her control gone, her position collapsing in real time, and I remained exactly where I had been from the beginning, calm, still, because this was never about reacting. It was about waiting until the truth revealed itself, and when it did, there was nothing left for her to take. Chapter 5. The house felt quieter the morning everything became official. Not because anything was missing, but because nothing false was left inside it. I met with my attorney before noon. We sat across from each other in a glass office that overlooked the city, sunlight reflecting off buildings that had seen more deals than most people ever would. He slid a document toward me. "It has been finalized," he said. "No access, no claims, no leverage from her side." I read it once, then closed the folder. "Good," I said. There was nothing else to add. Outside, the world moved the same as it always had. Traffic, people, conversations that had nothing to do with what had just ended. But for us, everything had shifted. By the afternoon, Lucas had signed his papers. No hesitation, no delay. He told me later that the lawyer had asked him twice if he wanted to reconsider. I said no both times, he said. That was enough. Vanessa tried one last time. She came to the house without calling. I saw her through the front window before she rang the bell. She looked different, not weaker, but stripped of the certainty she had carried before. When I opened the door, she did not smile. "We need to talk," she said. "There is nothing left to discuss," I replied. She exhaled, trying to steady herself. "You cannot just shut me out like this," she said. "I was part of this family." I held her gaze. "You were part of a plan," I said, "and that plan is over." For a moment, she said nothing. Then her composure cracked just enough to reveal what had always been underneath. "I need to know where I stand," she said. "I cannot stay in a situation without a clear financial future." There it was. Not hidden, not softened. Exactly what it had always been. "You already know where you stand," I said. "Outside of it." Her eyes hardened. "So that is it," she said. "After everything?" I did not respond. There was no version of this conversation that changed the outcome. Lucas stepped into the hallway behind me. He had heard enough. "I think you should go," he said. His voice was calm, but final. Vanessa looked at him, searching for something that was no longer there. "This is not how this was supposed to end," she said. Lucas nodded slightly. "I know," he replied. "That is the point." She stood there for a second longer, then turned and walked away. No scene, no argument, just the sound of the door closing behind her. That was the last time she stood in that house. A week later, Olivia returned with a final update. We sat at the same table, but this time there was no tension in the room. "It's consistent," she said, sliding a thinner file across the surface. "Different names, same pattern." She summarized it quickly. Short relationships, early financial conversations, gradual pressure, withdrawal when access was denied. Lucas listened, his expression steady. "She's done this before," he said. Olivia nodded. "No, more than once." He leaned back slightly, absorbing it without surprise. "Thank you," he said. Olivia gave a small nod, then gathered her things. "Take care of yourself," she said before leaving. After that, there was nothing left to uncover. Ryan disappeared completely. No calls, no messages, no attempt to explain. People like him do not stay when there is nothing left to manage. The legal process moved forward exactly as it should. Filings were submitted, deadlines were met. Everything followed the structure that had been designed to protect, not to recover. One afternoon, Lucas and I sat on the back porch. The air was still, the kind of quiet that doesn't ask for anything. "I keep thinking about how close it got," he said. I looked at him. "It only feels close because you can see it clearly now," I replied. He nodded. "I ignored things," he admitted, "things that didn't make sense." I said, "You trusted someone you chose. That's not a mistake." He was quiet for a moment, then spoke again. "But staying would have been," he said. "Yes," I replied. We sat there without speaking for a while. No tension, no unfinished thoughts, just clarity. "I'm sorry," he said finally, "for not seeing it sooner." I placed my hand over his. I said, "You saw it when it mattered. That's what counts." He exhaled slowly, as if letting go of something he had been carrying longer than he realized. "I understand now," he said. I nodded, because understanding doesn't come from being told. It comes from seeing what cannot be unseen. Vanessa left with nothing. No access to the trust, no legal claim, no place in this family. But more than that, she left without the ability to continue the pattern that had brought her here. That was the part she had not expected. That was the part no one ever plans for. I stood at the edge of the yard that evening, watching the light fade across the grass. Lucas joined me again, quieter now, steadier. "Everything is still here," he said. Of course it is, I replied. It always was. He looked at me, then out at the house. You never lost control, he said. I shook my head. I never gave it away, I answered. That's the difference people misunderstand. Silence is not weakness, it's preparation. It's knowing when to wait and when to let the truth do its work. And in the end, the truth always does. If you've ever had to choose between trusting someone and protecting yourself, think about it carefully. Would you still choose trust if the cost was everything you built?